Good morning, Moonhaven Falls! I am Audric Cashmere with the Crystal Network. We begin this morning with what appears to be the conclusion to the jurisdictional crisis that has paralyzed the transit of Moonhaven Falls for the better part of this month. While the Litigate branch of the Law Clan of the Long Claw believed that they were playing a masterful game of 3D legal chess over our bridges, they seem to have forgotten one immutable fact of life in this valley. Lord Kendrick owns the board, the pieces, and the table they sit upon, and it appears he's finally had enough. Lord Kendrick, observing the chaos from his castle on the plateau above the falls, has finally reached the limit of his patience. It appears that the constant blaring of L.I.T.I.G.A.T.E megaphones and the mounting paperwork clogging his tax revenue streams have resulted in a rather pernicious solution. This morning, Lord Kendrick issued a high decree of eminent domain, effectively shattering the blockade with a single stroke of his sovereign quill. Lord Kendrick's logic was as simple as it was devastating. He pointed out that while the L.I.T.I.G.A.T.E may claim the airspace and the mainland soil, he, as the High Lord, holds the underlease of the world. He has officially declared that both the east and western bridges and a 50-yard perimeter surrounding the mainland to be a lordly staging ground for his private guard. But in a move of rather uncharacteristic dark irony, he did not evict Litigate. Instead, he enacted a litigation levy. Every legal word spoken or written within 50 yards of the bridges is now taxed at a rate of 5 gold pieces per syllable. Barnaby Buttercup was live on the scene when the levy was announced. Barnaby?
Audric, it's a stampede, but not of beasts, of lawyers. Kendrick's high justicar arrived on a pale horse, unrolling a scroll so long it required 3 squires just to hold the weight, and he informed the Law Clan that their airspace claim has been overruled by the right of the lordly sky. I watched Judge Sarasha try to mount a legal defense, but every time he opened his mouth to say objection, a tax collector rang a bell and demanded 15 gold pieces on the spot. The L.I.T.I.G.A.T.E are currently racing toward the mountains, shouting that they are moving the venue and have forgotten important business with the rest of the clan. The traffic is flowing again, Audric. I've never seen citizens cheer for a tax collector before, but today, every ring of that bell sounds like liberty.
Thank you, Barnaby. The financial impossibility of maintaining a blockade has forced a total retreat. The splinter group of the L.I.T.I.G.A.T.E, realizing they were outmaneuvered by a man far more pernicious than themselves, have apparently begun packing up their silk tents. Their departure was marked by a significant amount of tail flicking and muttering about backwater jurisprudence. They did not leave completely quietly, however. At both bridge exits, the mahogany desks have been replaced by a weatherproof sign that reads, "By order of the Litigate branch, this town is officially declared legally exhausting. We waive our rights to final appeal because we find your lack of proper filing cabinets offensive. Do not contact us. We are taking the pens." But perhaps the most remarkable story today is the conspiracy of silence that appears to have gripped our citizens. In an act of collective guilt for their previous treatment of Gary, who was, as we now know, the victim of the Law Clan, not a monster, the town has seemed to form a protective shield around the Whispering Caverns. As the rebels attempted to extract one last scrap of information on Gary's whereabouts during their retreat, they were met with a wall of polite confusion. I'm told a L.I.T.I.G.A.T.E lawyer stopped a local baker on the bridge demanding to know where the asset Gary was hidden to collect a release of liability fee, and the baker reportedly stared blankly and asked, "Gary? Never heard of him. Is he a type of cheese? Is it like a sharp cheddar?" The rebels have been forced to leave empty-handed, chased away by the town's sudden and unanimous amnesia. Morwen Brightseen is on the East Bridge for a final look at the aftermath. Morwen?
The dust is settling, Audric. The last of the Litigate rebels have officially crossed the threshold of the mainland, and I am standing here holding a discarded powdered wig and a very heavy sense of relief. It seems the pernicious threat from the plateau was enough to make them realize that staying here was bad for their health, and even worse for their wallets. But the real story today isn't the lawyers leaving, it's the silence. For a town that loves to gossip, no one is saying a single syllable about the Whispering Caverns. It seems that Moonhaven Falls has finally learned that some residents are better left officially missing. Gary appears to be safe, the bridges are clear, and the only thing left of the Law Clan is a very large bill for syllable taxes that I am sure they will attempt to contest from the mountains.
A rather fitting end to the litigious month. However, not everyone has emerged unscathed. Timmy, I understand you've made a discovery in the town square?
Hi, Barnaby. Hi, Audric. Guess what? I found a whole box of these official legal pens that the cats left behind. I tried to write a thank you note to the town for my sandwich, but these pens can only write in sub Piona. Everything I start ends up as a formal complaint. My grocery list is now 3 pages long and requires a notary just to buy eggs. Does anyone know a lawyer who will work for crackers?
I think I would avoid those pens, Timmy. For the Crystal Network, I am L.I.T.I.G.A.T.E. The bridges are open, the Gary myth is secure, and Lord Kendrick is presumably back to counting his new syllable tax gold. Normalcy, in all its chaotic glory, has returned to Moonhaven Falls.
Greetings, Seekers of Destiny, and welcome once more to the arcane whispers of Ilara, Meadowlight. 15 days have poured themselves into the great design since the vibrant Koi blessed our river with their promises of fortune and perseverance. 22 weeks now stand between us and the Phoenix's initial fiery ascension, a journey woven with magic, challenge, and profound discovery. Today, the very heart of Moonhaven Falls, its communal spirit, has begun to resonate with a new and unmistakable omen. From the weathered ancient bell tower in the very center of the town square, a peculiar, silent chime has begun to sound. It does not toll the hour, nor is it rung by any visible hand. Instead, it sounds whenever a significant decision is about to be made. The chime is quite clear, carrying a subtle, almost guiding magical resonance that seems to settle over all who hear it, inspiring clarity or unity. This is no ordinary sound, but rather a direct sign that ancient magic, perhaps awakened by the key and infused by the falls, is now actively influencing the collective fate of Moonhaven, guiding our shared journey and highlighting moments of communal significance. A special note on the tower bell's chime. The resonant chime from the ancient tower is an omen of collective destiny, higher guidance in communal affairs, and the direct influence of awakened magic upon the governance and spirit of Moonhaven Falls. Where previous omens have spoken of individual paths or grand forces, this chime focuses on our shared journey and the power of unity. For all, this signifies a period where communal decisions will be imbued with an unusual clarity, and where collective action will carry a greater weight. Please pay attention to the shared rhythm of the town, for destiny now resonates in our combined efforts. For those of you born under the sign of the Whispering Willow, that is, mid-spring to early summer, the guiding chime harmonizes your individual growth with the greater song of the community. The chiming of the bell tower indicates that your personal growth and unique path, fostered by the fall's magic and the Fae's guidance, are now deeply interwoven with the well-being of Moonhaven itself. Your insights and contributions will be vital in community decisions, perhaps influencing those around you. Now is the time to seek harmony between your personal aspirations and the needs of the collective, knowing that your individual strength contributes to your community's resilience. The murmuring of the Moonhaven Falls now sings a hopeful chorus with the chime, advising you that true flourishing comes from both personal strength and communal support. A small, handcrafted item, possibly given to you by a neighbor, or a shared dream of communal prosperity, could be a token of your vital role. For those of you born under the sign of the Soaring Griffin, that is, late summer to early autumn, the resonant chime calls for leadership that embodies unity, guiding the community through monumental shifts. For you, the chime from the bell tower is a powerful omen of your leadership. It signifies that your strategic mind, honed by the Nara's clarity, must now focus on guiding the collective. Major decisions for your community,
especially those related to long-term planning or individual decisions that may affect those around you, will require your firm yet unifying input. The chime itself may signify moments when your leadership is most needed to inspire communal action or to resolve internal strife. This is a time to foster consensus and lead not just through strength, but through the ability to weave disparate wills into a single resonant purpose. The distant roar of the falls now blends with a unifying chime, advising you that your greatest victories will be shared. A symbol of unity, perhaps intertwined ropes or a communal banner, could well represent your powerful role. For those of you born under the sign of the deepening mire, that is mid-autumn to early winter, the chime illuminates the shared mysteries, revealing how individual truths weave together into a grand communal tapestry. The profound truths that you have been uncovering, now made tangible by the fall's active magic, are revealed to have a communal implication. The chime suggests that the secrets you seek are part of a larger, shared narrative, and that understanding them may require a collective effort or insight. This is a time to look beyond purely personal revelations and see how your discoveries are connected to the collective consciousness and shared past of Moonhaven. The chime may well guide you to ancient communal records or forgotten lore. The slow, persistent trickle of the falls now carries echoes of shared memory, reminding you that true wisdom often resides in the collective. A faded communal ledger, or a story passed down through generations, could well hold a key to unlocking communal truths. For those of you born under the sign of the frozen hearth, that is, late winter to early spring, the chime resonates with your renewed spirit, calling you to contribute your vibrant energy to the well-being of all. Your magnificent rebirth, now infused with the fall's living magic, is called to shine brightly for the entire community. The chime signifies that your enduring spirit and newfound vitality are a vital resource for your community, perhaps even acting as a source of quiet strength that may influence those around you. This is a time to channel your immense energy into a collective endeavor to inspire those around you and to contribute your unique light to your community's shared destiny. Your resilience will become a beacon for others, and the steady flow of the falls, even in its winter embrace, now pulses with a shared and hopeful rhythm, speaking of a spirit that is both personally radiant and communally impactful. A warm guiding hand offered by a fellow citizen, or a sense of shared purpose igniting your own strength, could well be a testament to your integral role. Please remember that these are but whispers from the cosmic currents, glimpses of what may be. The choices that you make, the actions that you take, these are the true shapers of your destiny. And may the light of the moon guide your path, and may your journeys be filled with discovery and fortune, especially as the very heart of Moonhaven Falls begins to sing its ancient and luminous song, as the communal bell chimes for all. This has been Alara Meadowlight with your Omen Outcast.
Freya, thank you for agreeing to this. It's an absolute honor. Your letters have raised so many questions. The time description, see your estate being a ruin for a century, while you were only 53, that was our biggest mystery. Can you finally explain what the crystal was really doing?
Yes, a temporal echo. The truth is, my whole story was from 100 years ago, when I was still locked in that tower. I was listening to your broadcasts as they existed in my future. The crystal I found was channeling your signal through a strange anomaly, a tiny tear in time. When Hazel and I flew from the ruins of the estate after our confrontation, it was destroyed, just as you and Audric had described it. Then we landed right here on the edge of the plateau that would eventually overlook Moonhaven Falls, exactly 100 years ago.
100 years ago? What did you do? Did the town even exist back then? The Crystal Network hadn't been built yet.
Precisely. I was completely lost until I found a very kind, though rather cryptic, young man. He said his name was Timothy.
Timothy?
He was the one who explained everything. He saw the crystal I carried and told me it was picking up broadcasts from the future. All of your broadcasts, Timmy. He told me that my letters were traveling through a rare temporal echo that was only strong enough to lock onto one person. You.
That is genuinely insane and brilliant. But this random person a century ago, he suggested you wait?
He suggested I travel, maybe join an occasional adventuring party, while I waited on the timeline to catch up. He knew I needed to return to Moonhaven Falls this exact week for my interview with my favorite intern.
Wait, that's incredibly specific. It's weird that some random guy 100 years ago knew about the Moonhaven Falls Crystal Network and that I would be an intern?
Oh, my dear Timmy, you have no idea. That young man seemed to know everything about Moonhaven Falls, past and present, more than any oracle or time mage I have encountered in my traveling. So I waited, but I've come back occasionally to check on things, usually with an adventuring party. I watched Lord Kendrick's grandfather build the castle and drain the lake, revealing the Shadowfen. I met a much younger Gary when he was first settling down in the area. Hazel and I even welcomed Ignis when he was still rather brash and hot-tempered. When I finally heard the station started broadcasting last year, I knew he was right, and I enjoyed the journey, but I knew I needed to return for this interview.
So you've been traveling for a century, just to pass time until you would come back to do this exact interview.
Well, I enjoyed the journey, and I'm finally an adult amongst my people. Now, tell me, Timmy, you seem exhausted. Has Audric been making you do more field reports?
No, I've actually been prepping for a new one. A new adventuring party is in town. They just found this really cool ancient crystal in the Shadowfen. I think they're close to unlocking its secrets.
That sounds like the beginning of a great story. I can't wait to hear the tale when you get back. Enjoy your adventure, young Timmy. In the meantime, I have a certain wizarding gnome I need to track down. He and I need to have a little conversation.
Good day to you, O monarchs and imperials. Welcome to the Seekers and the Magi. A jaunty salute to the artificers, the clockrights, and the citizens of all walks of life here in the Lost Realms. Welcome back to Crossroads Chronicles, where we explore the most refined and surprisingly competitive pursuits across the Lost Realms. Tonight we're stepping into a world of feathers, finesse, and gleaming metallic surfaces. Forget your dusty dungeons and chaotic caverns. We are about to enter the meticulously manicured world of high-end owlbear grooming competitions. And trust me, dear listeners, the stakes are higher than a griffin's nest. We've arrived backstage at the prestigious Feather and Ferrule Invitational, the pinnacle of owlbear grooming excellence. The air is thick with a scent of exotic feather oils and a certain controlled tension. Amidst the flurry of last-minute preening and nervous handlers stands our guest, their metallic form gleaming under the soft lighting. Joining us today is Unit 734, designated Ethereal Sheen, a warforged, whose reputation in the elite owlbear grooming circuits precedes them. Unit 734, thank you for granting us this interview amidst the pre-show bustle.
Efficiency dictates adherence to schedules. Your allotted temporal units commence now. This one's designation is simply Sheen. Ethereal Sheen and 734 were both sentimental affections of previous, less discerning handlers.
My apologies, Sheen. It's fascinating to encounter a warforged in this rather organic field. What sparked your interest in the art of owlbear grooming?
My initial parameters involved logistical assessment and optimization, observing the inefficiencies in traditional owlbear handling, the inconsistent feather maintenance, the suboptimal dietary regimens. It presented to me a clear opportunity for improvement. My internal processes determined that a structured, data-driven approach to grooming and feeding could yield demonstrably superior results, both aesthetically and in terms of the specimen's overall presentation.
So it began as a matter of efficiency.
Precisely. Organic tendencies of humanoid groomers often introduce unacceptable variables: emotional attachment, subjective aesthetic preferences. These are detrimental to achieving proper excellence. My analysis identified key metrics: feather gloss index, beak and talon uniformity, plumage density, and the creature's overall comportment, all things that could be objectively measured and optimized.
Well, you've clearly excelled. Your owlbear specimens are consistently top contenders. What's your secret to achieving such a lustrous result?
It is not a secret, but rather a methodology. Rigorous adherence to a precisely calibrated dietary plan, formulated based on the specimen's age, breed, and molt cycle. Scheduled preening sessions, utilizing specialized non-abrasive implements and scientifically formulated feather emoluments. Environmental controls to maintain optimal humidity and temperature, minimizing feather damage and promoting healthy growth. And of course, the application of advanced bioluminescent dust for achieving that coveted ethereal sheen under the judge's scrutiny.
Bioluminescent dust? That sounds advanced and possibly regulated or even disallowed in a competition such as this?
No. It is a finely milled compound derived from a deep-sea flora, carefully applied to enhance the natural iridescence of the plumage without compromising its structural integrity. Its application requires precise atmospheric conditions and a steady hand. Organic handlers often struggle with the particulate distribution, but it is within competition regulation. My integrated manipulators offer superior control.
I see. Wow, that level of detail is astounding. What do you make of your organic competitors in this field?
Their methods are often sentimental and imprecise. They rely on intuition and anecdotal evidence rather than quantifiable data. Their emotional bonds with the specimens can cloud their judgment, leading to suboptimal aesthetic choices. While their enthusiasm is notable, it rarely translates to a consistent top-tier result.
So you're saying you believe your objective, data-driven approach is giving you a distinct advantage?
Logic dictates that a system based on measurable metrics and optimized variables will consistently outperform one reliant on subjective interpretation and emotional bias. The judges' scorecards ultimately reflect this reality.
What are some of the common pitfalls you observe among your organic competitors?
Overhandling leading to feather stress and breakage. Inconsistent dietary regimens resulting in a dull or brittle plumage. Improper use of grooming tools causing irritation and discomfort to the specimen. And a fundamental misunderstanding of the precise angles and textures required to achieve optimal visual harmony. Their attempts at creative styling often border on chaotic.
So, creative chaos versus precise optimization. Sounds like a fundamental difference in philosophy. What qualities do you look for in a top-tier owlbear grooming specimen?
A robust skeletal structure indicating good breeding. A dense and well-maintained plumage with a naturally high gloss index. A calm and cooperative temperament indicative of a proper early socialization, and, of course, a certain inherent majesty. Even my optimized grooming cannot fully compensate for a fundamentally flawed specimen.
Okay, and what are your aspirations for the future, Sheen? Are you planning to stay in owlbear grooming endeavors?
Continued optimization. The development of more advanced grooming technologies, the refinement of dietary algorithms, and, ultimately, the establishment of a new standard of excellence in this surprisingly demanding field. Perhaps, one day, organic handlers will adopt a more logical approach, though I have observed a persistent resistance to data.
Well, that's a fascinating insight into a truly unique subculture within the Lost Realms. Unit 734, or rather, Sheen, thank you for sharing your precise perspective on the art of high-end owlbear grooming with us here on Crossroads Chronicles, and we wish you optimal scores in today's competition.
Efficiency dictates a focus upon results, not wishes. However, your acknowledgement is noted. Temporal unit is concluded.
And that was Sheen, a warforged, bringing a level of scientific precision to a surprisingly competitive world of owlbear pampering. You're listening to the Crystal Network, so stay tuned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes our episode for the week. We release a new episode every Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern, and I do hope that you found this podcast a bit droll, a little riveting, and perhaps even a little bit enchanting. If you did, I would appreciate it if you could just take a moment to rate this podcast, maybe share it with a friend or a community, as well as stopping by our Facebook or Patreon page to let me know what your favorite segment is. If you haven't already, I would also request that you subscribe to the channel or follow the podcast. It's a simple, easy action that lets the algorithm know that you listen to and want to continue hearing these stories. For anyone who wishes to directly invest in the future of our work, do please explore the community on Patreon. I personally write, edit, and produce all the content for this show, with the occasional guest appearance from my wife and children. If you want to buy me a cup of coffee per month, or Timmy a cup of cocoa, as encouragement to continue creating this, we gratefully accept. Thank you to all of our supporters, especially the increasing number of you who have reached out to tell me your favorite segments. My family and I genuinely appreciate all of the support you guys are showing us by tuning in every week, and we would like to thank you for continuing to do so. I look forward to seeing you in the comments, and I hope you tune in again next week.